and good evening everyone. I'm Shefali Sehgal and I recently completed my master's degree in software engineering. Woohoo! And and as a student I started a project in the robotics field, and that's the story that I'm going to be telling you tonight. So without further ado, to bot or not. So in our lecture hall far, far away, one day there was a group of psychologists and software developers talking about how the society will respond and adapt to the emerging technologies. Now, the software developers amongst us, we said that it's very important to design and test before we implement any applications or programs, right? To which the psychologists said that it's also very vital to consider that humans will interact and basically respond differently in different environments. So we have to be mindful of different scenarios. So after a lot of discussions, we said, well, let's measure the effectiveness of technology integration in different human interactions. So that was our case. To begin with, we first of all had to understand how the humans basically interact in different contexts. So we came up with two contents. Firstly, we said that, okay, there's one content that we can say is task specific. So conversations in this domain entails things like discrete question and answers. So for instance, when did the United States gain independence, or what is the currency of Guatemala? We know that we are discrete answers to those questions. On the other hand, the generic content is whereby there's going to be a conversation which is going to be more colorful. So questions like, what is the meaning of life, or what is love? These questions will hopefully give us colorful answers, well, for most of us. Then we said that let's think about all the platforms that we would like to measure the effectiveness of. And we came up with two platforms. One was robot, so we'd like to measure the human-robot interactions. And the other one was chatbot, so we'd like to measure the human-computer interaction. So in essence, we had 4 experiments, and we had a series of questions pertaining to the task-specific content. And then we measured, well, we had participants, users coming in and talking to a robot, answering those task-specific questions. And similarly, we had different participants coming in and answering those task-specific questions with a chatbot. Similarly, we also had a set of generic questions, and we did the same with a robot as well as a chatbot. Now, this is all fun and games, but because I'm a software developer, I would really like to take you behind the scenes where the real magic happened. As for the chatbot, it was relatively easy because we had participants talking to, well, basically writing to a chatbot and encountering questions and answering those questions. And this was all text to text, simple enough. In terms of the robot, it was a bit more complicated because participants would come in, speak to the robot, then we coded that speech-to-text algorithm in order for that text file to be relayed onto a database. Then we received, again, an answer from that database, retrieved it in the text format, converted into speech, and then gave back the response. Now, this seems pretty simple, but it was a dog's breakfast. Simply because when you consider the different people with different voices, mannerisms, and accents, it can be quite complicated. We were fortunate enough to hold our experiments at Questacon earlier this year, and at the moment, the University of Canberra is also hosting such experiments, so I will be recruiting people here. Of course, the results we're still waiting for all the experiments to be over, but I'd like to take this opportunity to also mention that with this project, I did a number of school outreach programs, so whereby we took the robot and made sure that the students are acclimated to human-robot interactions. So at the end of the day, school kids not only spoke to the robot, but they also danced with him. So that was fun. And that's all.